In Switzerland, a Rolex factory finishes roughly 1 million watches every single year. That's more than the two biggest rivals, Patek Philippe and Audemars Piguet, put together. And yet, walk into a Rolex boutique and ask for the one you actually want, and the salesperson will not sell you a watch. They'll write your name on a card and tell you they'll be in touch. In a month, maybe in 5 years. So here's the strange thing. A company makes 1 million of something a year, and you still have to wait years to own one. That's not a supply problem. That's a big...
And here's the contradiction that should bother you. Rolex's revenue is estimated at more than $10 billion a year. It's the single biggest Swiss watch brand, holding about 30% of the market. It runs 4 giant factories in Switzerland, and it's building a 5th. So why doesn't the world's biggest watchmaker just make more? If it boosted production by 10%, it would still be the biggest luxury watch brand. It would still sell everything it built. And a lot of people would stop waiting. That's what any normal business would do. Rolex doesn't. And that is exactly...
To understand why, you need to know who owns Rolex. In 1945, the founder, Hans Wilsdorf, set up a private Swiss charity called the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation. When he died in 1960, he left 100% of the company to that foundation. Not to his family, not to Wall Street, not to any shareholder. So there is no board demanding a dividend, no stock to grow, no pressure to sell more volume just to impress investors. Every franc of profit either stays inside the company or goes to philanthropy. That one detail, the ownership, changes everything. A normal company has to grow until it floods the market. Rolex has no such obligation, and the waiting list is...
So where does the money actually come from? Rolex doesn't sell directly to you online. It sells to about 1,000 independent authorized dealers around the world, and those dealers sell to the customer. Retail prices are set by Rolex, and they've gone up year after year by roughly 5 to 7%. That alone is a dependable, predictable profit machine. But here's the clever part. Because supply is kept slightly below demand, the most wanted models, the Steel Submariner, the GMT Master, and above all, the Daytona, never sit in a shop window. A steel Daytona lists at about $15,000. Wait at a dealer, and you might get one eventually. Walk onto the secondary market instead, and the same watch instantly changes hands for $30,000 or more. So the moment you buy a Rolex at retail, it's already worth more than you paid. And that is doing all the marketing for the brand. The waiting list proves the watch is rare. The resale premium proves it holds value. And both of those make people want it more. The scarcity is not just a constraint on the brand, it is the brand.
Now, the part that isn't in the brochure. The waiting list is not a real queue. It never was. Rolex says it doesn't actually run waiting lists at all. It says each authorized dealer independently manages how watches are allocated to customers. And what that really means is that a salesperson decides who gets the watch. That is the hidden mechanism. There's no transparent line, no first come, first served. Instead, dealers pick. They favor buyers who have already spent a lot of money in the store. They reward someone with a big life event because that story makes the watch precious and it won't get flipped. And above all, they keep the hottest models out of the hands of flippers. So the whole machine runs like this. The brand makes a little less than the market wants. The dealer hands that little to the customers most valuable to them. And the system keeps the watches rare, the brand desirable, and the price permanently elevated. The wait isn't the enemy of the business. The wait is the business.
But here's where it gets really interesting. In 2022, the luxury watch market exploded. Then it crashed. During the pandemic, Cheap credit and speculation sent secondary prices vertical. A Daytona that listed for about $15,000 was changing hands for more than 50. Then interest rates rose. The boom ended and the bubble burst. Across the industry, secondary prices fell by 30 to 40% from their peak. The Daytona dropped from over $50,000 to the high 20s within a year. Even today, many steel sports models trade below their 2022 highs. For a while, the great story that a Rolex always goes up seemed broken. So how did the company react? Did it panic? No, it kept raising retail prices, and the waiting lists stayed. Rolex could absorb the crash precisely because it answers to no shareholders. And then it made two more strategic moves. In 2023, it bought Boucherer, its single largest retail partner, a chain of more than 100 stores. And in 2022, it had launched a certified pre-owned program where authorized dealers sell officially authenticated second-hand Rolexes with a warranty. After years of watching gray market dealers scoop up large premiums on its own watches, Rolex started building its own way to capture that money too. So here is the real answer. Rolex makes you wait because the waiting is the entire point. Under the craftsmanship and the history, what Rolex actually sells is scarcity itself. The idea that only some people get the watch and that owning it means something. It works because there is no shareholder pressure to make more, because the resale market constantly proves the scarcity is real, and because Rolex now profits on both sides, the price of the new watch and through certified pre-owned, the price of the used one. It is even building a new factory, opening around 2029. But the plan is to expand slowly and deliberately, never enough to flood the market, enough to shorten the wait.
So the next time a salesperson tells you it's a long wait, remember what they're actually offering you. Not a discount, a place in an economic machine, designed to make that watch feel rarer and more valuable than if you could buy it today. Rolex doesn't sell you a timekeeper. It sells you the two things people have always paid fortunes for: exclusivity and the proof of patience. That is why the world's most desired watch always stays a little out of reach. Because the moment you can buy it anywhere, anytime, it stops being Rolex. The scarcity is running perfectly, and it's working.